How you doing? How you been? Hope you're doing well. It's Oddly James. Welcome to my channel. Practicing paganism and or witchcraft in the broom closet can be a difficult thing. You have to limit how you practice, when you practice, books and research material that you can buy, items and supplies that you need for your spells or rituals. And all that can be a little tricky. And it can also weigh pretty heavy on your mental health, because when you're keeping secrets from family members and friends, it just kind of weighs you down, and being able to express all this is a huge relief. Now, the decision to come out of the broom closet is going to be a tough one, and it's a pretty complex question that you have to ask yourself, and it really comes down to two questions. Should you come out of the broom closet, and who do you tell about your pagan and or witchcraft practices? Now, there's also going to be some extra factors that come into play regarding those two questions, so let's get into it. So the first question is, should you come out of the broom closet? And in order to answer that fully, we have to ask ourselves a couple more questions. Is coming out going to make it easier for us to practice? For example, do you live alone, or do you live with somebody? If you live with somebody, you might not be able to keep an altar up at all times. You have to be careful about the things that you buy for your supplies. You have to be careful about the books that you have visible in your room. All that stuff kind of comes into play. When you live by yourself, it's a little easier. You don't have to hide everything, but you're still in the closet when it comes to your friends, and or family. So maybe when your friends come over, or if you have company come over, you have to keep everything in like a closed room, and all that other stuff. And the other thing you have to ask yourself is, if you do live with somebody, what are their religious beliefs? Or even your friends, what are their religious beliefs? Are they hardcore Christian? Are they just Christian period? Are they atheist? Are they maybe agnostic? Because as a pagan, you're going to get it from both sides. If you are an atheist, you pretty much have to deal with just the Christians harassing you. If you're a Christian, you have to deal with the atheists harassing you. If you're pagan, you have to deal with both of them harassing you. The Christian wants you to follow God, and the atheists, they're going to make fun of you, not only for believing in just one God, but many. And a lot of times when you tell them, like if you're into animism, they may make fun of you for believing that everything around us has a spirit and a soul. I know most atheists are pretty nice, but let's face it, after watching TikTok, they can be very condescending to anyone who has any sort of belief in spirits, ghosts, higher powers, deities, what have you. So you do have to contend with all that stuff. But with that said, there are those family members and friends who are a little more accepting of other religions and cultures and belief systems and all that stuff too. You know your friends and family better than anybody else. You've known them long enough to where you can pick up on cues as to how they would react. For example, my family is very religious. They are uber Christians. At my sister's funeral, my brother took that as an opportunity to just turn it into a sermon. And something he said specifically is that he knows there are people in the room who don't believe, and they're going to go to hell, and he hopes that he can convince them to become believers, which was really, actually, to be honest with you, it was completely unnecessary at my sister's funeral. We weren't there to listen to your sermon. We were there to pay our respects to my sister. So that bothered me. So I know how my family is. My friends are pretty accepting and open to other religions, other belief systems, because they, are loosely, because their belief system is a little loose. They're pretty flexible on things. So you kind of have to take all of that into consideration. So the next question you need to ask yourself is, who are you going to tell? If you live with somebody, you kind of obviously need to tell them if you want to be able to practice openly. And this is going to come down to, who are you living? Are you living with your parents? Are they very religious? If so, do you want to tell them? Are you living with just a friend or a roommate? Because in that instance, it might not really matter as much what they think. It's not going to have that much of an impact on you. It might affect how they treat you a little bit, but probably won't have that much of an effect. If it's your family, however, it could be a really big issue. You have to keep something in mind. If you decide to tell your family about your paganism or witchcraft, and if they are very religious, you need to be 100% prepared to be judged, to be ridiculed. There's a possibility of being shunned from your family. It could be a very serious thing. If your family is pretty understanding, they're pretty loose in their beliefs, they might not fully understand your belief system, but at least they might be accepting. And again, you know your family better than anybody. You have a really good idea already as to whether or not, or as to what their reactions would be. So for my story personally, if you have watched my previous video, I talked about how I've been a pagan for about 25 years and I haven't told anybody about it. My current wife, is the first person to really know. And the way that came about was I never actually came out to her. There was a bookstore that opened up here in town called Scales and Tales in West Palm Beach. And we went there for the opening. She told me it was like a game and bookstore that was opening. We should go check it out because we play board games. We play D&D. And so we went and checked it out and it was pretty cool. And then we liked their Facebook page. So the bookstore one night had they did like a drag show, and our friends from Orlando came down and we all went, and they had a bunch of psychic vendors there. They had pagan vendors that would sell crystals and pendulums and all kinds of stuff. And so that night they had a person who was there who was reading tarot. He's a local witch, and he's also a spiritual advisor. I asked her if I could do my reading, have my reading done, and she was like, yeah. So I had my reading done. This was all about, it was pretty much me deciding on my pagan path and kind of solidifying everything together, like really taking my paganism seriously. And so after that, we kind of walked around and looked at the vendors. I noticed that she was looking at pendulums and she had bought a pendulum. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, I know people know what pendulums are for, but is she buying it because she just thinks it's pretty? Is she buying it because she's really interested in divination? Is this something that she really wants to try out? What is going on here? And I was like super shocked. So after that night, we were sitting on the couch, and she asked me, she said, you know what we need to buy? I said, what's that? She goes, we need to buy some books on paganism. And I said, well, I have some. She goes, you do? I said, yes. And so I told her, I said, I've never told anybody this, but in my late teens and early 20s, I was a practicing Wiccan. and I did Wicca for several years, and I kind of just realized it really wasn't for me because it is more of coven oriented. I'm a solitary person. Also, I'm not really big on the organization or organized religions. And she agreed with me on that. So I had no idea she was interested in paganism. She didn't know I was interested in paganism. And so it kind of just, I hate to say this, and I hate to sound so cliche, but I guess it was just destined to happen, that we kind of come out to each other at the same time. And what that allows us to do is kind of openly practice. Now, she has her own belief system. She is more of an animist. I am a Celtic pagan. I also am polytheistic. I have a matron deity. And this also allows me to keep my altar set up 24/7. I don't have to take it down. I don't have to keep everything small when I meditate and all that stuff. So I'm able now to keep my altar open. And this has also allowed us to kind of explore different things together. So we've gone to some local witchy stores here, and I was able to get bought some incense. I did get a Book of Shadows because I am getting into witchcraft, traditional witchcraft or secular witchcraft. So I got a book. It's a journal. It's going to be my Book of Shadows. She bought me an altar box for my birthday, which was really cool. So we've really embraced it together as a couple, which I think is really good. Now, as far as my family is concerned, however, I will probably never tell them because they are very religious. And my mom she's 81 this year. And I don't want her to live out the rest of her life thinking I'm going to go to hell because I'm not Christian. She's a worrier, which I think has a lot of impact on my anxiety and the way I was raised and stuff like that. That's a whole different subject. So if I was to tell her, she would spend the rest of her days worrying about me going to hell because I am not a Christian. My middle brother is a pastor and has been a pastor for, I don't know, almost all my life. And my oldest brother isn't, I don't know if he says he's a Christian and he believes in God and all that stuff, but I don't even think he goes to church. Maybe he does go to church. I don't know. My mom goes to church. When we were kids, we didn't go to church that much. Actually, I never saw her go to church. I went to church a few times with friends and neighbors just to try it out and see what it was like. I never saw her go to church, but since she's been living in North Georgia and South Carolina, she's been going to church for several years now. So telling them would pretty much destroy our family dynamic. My brothers would probably stop talking to me, which I kind of want to preserve that relationship for now, at least until, as long as my mom is around, because I have a feeling that when my mom passes, we're just our whole family, I would probably never actually even speak to them much for the rest of my life. It's just the way it is. We've never been really close. So I don't want to be judged by my family. Now, with all that said, that's just my personal experience. You're going to have to take that with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary, but just remember, you need to be prepared for the consequences of coming out to your family. Because like I said, some of them may not take it so well. And like I said at the very beginning, this is going to be a difficult decision. It's one that if you need to make or not. Your family, your friends. Is this something that's going to make you happier? I can't answer that. I have seen some YouTube videos where people have said, you know, coming out of the broom closet makes you happier. Does it? Because it could make life a lot worse for you, especially if you are younger and you have to live at home. You don't have any other choice. And let's say you told your family about your beliefs and your practices, and they make your life a living hell after that and start forcing you to go to church and praying the demons out of you and all that. It's not it saying that it'll make you happier is dangerous, because it couldn't. Like, it might not. Might not. But like I said, you know your family better than anybody. Just be prepared. I know you might have clicked on the video expecting like a solid, here's the answer, and this is what you need to do, and it's guaranteed to work. Unfortunately, that's just not the way life works. That's not the way religion works. It's not the way our belief system works. This is going to be a personal decision that you have to make yourself. Just meditate on it. Think about it. You'll make the best decision for you. I'm sure you will. If you came out of the broom closet to your family, to your friends, let me know what your experiences were down in the comments. I'm interested in learning about what you went through, and maybe your experience might be able to help somebody else in a similar situation. That's kind of what I would hope to accomplish from this, is we help each other out, give each other some ideas, share some ideas, some thoughts, and hopefully we can help each other out. Now, if you would like to connect with me outside of YouTube and maybe even suggest topics for future videos, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at It's Oddly James. If you are into video games, you can come hang out with me while I stream on Twitch live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/It's Oddly James. Right now, I'm playing through the Tomb Raider remakes, or the newest Tomb Raider games. I'm almost done with the first one. So I am playing through those. If you want to check out my gaming YouTube channel, I'll have a link to that in the description below. I don't have like a short URL for it because I only have 6 subscribers over there. So if you are interested in gaming and all that good stuff, go check out that channel and possibly drop a sub. Speaking of subs, if you like this content that I've been making, if you enjoy it, if you get some use out of it, or if you've learned something, please hit that like button. If you are interested in continuing to learn stuff, more stuff, and support me, consider dropping a sub. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, be well, be safe, stay odd.